Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Mina Blasey. Today we're going to talk about the CAASPP SBAC Content Explorer. Let's just take a moment and jump right in. This is the official site for the California Assessment for Student Performance and Progress. As you can see, to log in, it is CAASPP.org. Next, what you'll want to do is scroll down to these green tabs. Select the Smarter Balanced Content Explorer. Once you are here, this gives you a plethora of information of what the state assessment will look like for students and give you some navigational tools on how to help your students by subject, by claim, by target, and by standard. Now, in order to do this, select a grade level, select a subject area, and once you select your subject area, choose a claim or a test. Now, we're going to select claim for now. And just select one of them. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. And then once you select the claim, you'll be able to select target or standard. In this situation, we're going to go ahead and select target because I want to get you to the next page. So this page, as you can see, will allow you to change grade levels, change the subject area, change the claim, change from target to standard, and you can actually change to an actual test. And those tests are the state test. It will change it to sample questions for the interim assessment blocks and the interim comprehensive assessment. So here is what we're going to do. Now, when you select a claim, you will get the targets. Now, targets are what we want students to be able to do. Like, for example, in grade 3, there are 7 targets in reading for literary and informational text, as you can see. Now, it numbers them 1 through 14, but that's what happens. Now, if you were to select another grade and select reading, what you will see, let's go back up, is that it does the same 14. The only difference is because we've selected 2 grades, you're going to see grade 3 and grade 4. And you'll notice there's a pattern, they're the same. Even if you were to add grade 5 with reading and so on, you are going to get grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. Now I'm going to deselect them so we can see this a little bit more clearly. Now, you can also select the standard. Now, the standard is what students need to master. The target is what we're going to do in order to get them to master a standard. So let's select this first one, L4. Determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases based on grade 3 reading and content, choosing flexibility from a range of strategies. That's one of them. Now, you can go down to another one, and it's down here as well, but it'll give you the related targets. So if we go back to L4, for example, let me get rid of this, it gives me the related targets. So word meanings, and that's for grade 3 with the G3 targets and G3 target 10. But what's nice about this is if I go back to the target, it doesn't really matter which one I choose. Let's say key ideas. At the very bottom, it's going to give me the claim of what we want the students to be able to do. Students should be able to can read closely and analytically to comprehend a range of increasingly complex literary and informational texts. That's the claim with the target and the standard right here and the grade. Now you can select more, which is kind of fun, and it just kind of expands it, and then you can download it as a PDF, for example. You can select sample item or an actual test. Now, if we select a sample item, let's select that. It will take us to a different website. Looks a little similar, but notice at the top it says sample items, and the website has changed just slightly. You'll notice that it says sampleitems.smarterbalanced.org, where this one was contentexplorer.smarterbalanced.org. So when we're in here, the sample items that we get for grade 3, subject, English Language Arts, and reading, target 1, this is the content standard that you will get sample questions. And it even gives you the answers here. So if you were to select it, and this is public, so any student or family member can actually access this, but they could read the passage, Looks very similar, actually identical to the state test. They can expand it. So they can see it in its full text. You can minimize it. And then this is the actual answer key or the selection of answers. Now, if we wanted to, we can go back and we can see that answer there. And you see it's multiple choice. Now, here's what's interesting. Now, I'm going to go and choose writing, for example. When I choose writing, let's say I choose target 1, it lessens the amount of content standards. You're going to see something different. Even though this answer key is here and it says multiple select, what students tend to do is they will select one answer. Well, you see the answer is A and E. If I were to select this, here is the passage that they have to read. And it says select 2 of the choices that have the best descriptive sentences to replace this phrase and this phrase. Even though it says 2 and it's bold, sometimes students miss this. So it's something you want to definitely talk to your students about, reading the directions for what's being asked of them. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is that this was multi-select. This is short answer. So if you select view, it's going to tell you the rubric, how to get a 0, a 1, or a 2. So let's close that and then select this tile. And students can actually type right in here. So if you were to share this with your students, say in Google Classroom, this exact page, they can type it out. They can talk to their peer. They can have peer-to-peer conversations. They can do it individually. Well, tell me what you got. Well, tell me what you got. And then you can share with students, well, this is what a 2 says that you should have had in order to have mastered this. Go ahead and read your neighbor's passage to see if they had all of those. And if not, what could they do differently or add so that they can get to it too? You can do this, and it takes time, but it's a way for you to fully integrate what you're doing in the classroom with these standards. And it allows you to allow students to have conversations, which is kind of fun. So now I'm going to go back to the claims. Now, if I were to go back to Smarter Content Explorer, this is interactive here at the top. It's going to take me back. Now I will just pick another grade, but this time I'm going to change the subject to mathematics. And I'm going to select claim. We'll just select this first claim, and then we'll select target, just so we can get past all of this. We want to see this page. And when we see this page, you will see that the targets look like the domains on the state standards. When you look at the state standards for mathematics, operations and algebraic thinking, numbers and operations base 10, number and operations fractions, measurement and data, geometry. It looks very similar to those domains. But it expands the domains by saying this target students should be able to write and interpret numeric expressions. Great. Now, if we jump over to the standard, it actually, for grade 5, gives us every standard that students should master by the end of the school year. However, I'm going to show you if I select problem solving. And these are the targets. Remember, targets are things that students should be able to do in order to master the standard. Problem solving, communicating, reasoning, modeling, and data analysis. Those 3 claims, when you select standards, will tell you, select the target instead to narrow your search. Here's why. These claims primarily measure the standards for mathematical practices. So, this is an area where you want students to think about what they're doing in the classroom. So if I go down and actually look at one of these sample claims, and it tells you problem solving, students can solve a range of complex, well-posed problems in pure and applied mathematics. Applied mathematics, we're using some language of the discipline now. And it tells you the target, apply mathematics to solve well-posed problems. That's the target. But here's what's key. If you open this up where it says more, it's telling you that items, tasks written primarily to assess claim 2, problem solving, will necessarily involve some claim 1 content targets, meaning computational mathematics. So they will have to solve a problem sometimes and then problem solve to actually talk about what's happening. And then it even says related 1 target should be listed below the claim 2 targets in the item form. If claim 3 or 4 targets are also directly related to the item task, list those following the claim 1 targets in order of prominence. Basically meaning just because a child can solve it doesn't mean they actually understand what's happening. So we want students to use those 8 mathematical practices in order to do that. Now, I'll do another video on that. And what I want you to know is that in the standards for mathematical practices, number 1 is what they will always do, persevere to the problem. And then what they will do is they can actually solve the problems using 2, 7, or 8. Doesn't matter which one of those, and you can look those up, but they will always do 3, 4, 5, 6. And check that out. It's really an umbrella, an overarching. Number 1, they will always do, but they can choose 2, 7, or 8. And then they will always do 3, 4, 5, 6, whether they decide to use the analyzing and problem solving of 2, 7, and 8. So again, different video, but definitely want you to think about that. Now, let's go to select a test. This is kind of fun for me. Summative assessment. So in grade 5, if we select this, it's going to give us some sample problems. Same with the ICA, same with the interim blocks and the focus interim assessment blocks. But what I want you to see again is if I select performance task, it will actually show me the same thing that I showed you before, that claim 1 will probably happen in this situation. And you want that to happen. So let's just say we selected that. We selected a test. We can select more. And now it comes up a little different. Or before when we were in ELA, it gave us the tiles right away. But now it's giving us some sample items in 3, 4, 5, or some sample items from the actual tests. So let's select grade 3. Now we have the tiles, excuse me. So now we can see that the performance task, notice that these are written responses. If you see view, there's a rubric or a specific, for this item, a full credit response includes the correct response 58, 1 point. Here, same as well. No other response can happen. Now, they want you to have the exact response, but sometimes what you're going to see is that 3210 rubric or the 210 rubric or a 10 rubric, even in a performance task. So you want to be able to play around with that. So you can select, now if we select this, you see we're in sample items. So it will actually, if I press this, it'll give us the exact one. It'll let students actually choose the numbers that are correct in this situation. So if we go back, let's look at this one. It actually, if we view it, it says the answer is 58. So I didn't do any math, but let's just type 5, 8. And we see that that's the one that we want. We know that this is correct. Now we have to look that up, can't enter it because it's not a live assessment in the testing operating system for the assessments, but you can have students talk about it. Well, what did you get? How did you get it? What did you come up with? And some of these other items that you select, like let's say I select modeling data analysis, target E. Now we have a multi-select. Let's say we select D. Now we have an equation. It's even saying the exemplar, other correct responses are 4 or any other equivalent to 2, 3, or 4. Student entry of 3, 4, or any other number equivalent to 3 or 4 is 1 point. And then you can actually, let's just, for fun here, we'll select this one and see what happens. So we get another equation one and a multiple choice. Something to think about with your students. Now, I know that we didn't select test, but if we wanted to, we could select test. Now it's giving us the summative assessments is the actual assessment. It is the one that the students get on the state test. But the interim comprehensive assessment mimics that. So it'll give you performance tasks and the computer adaptive test, except it doesn't adapt for the ICA. And then the interim assessment blocks, there are performance tasks. and then the focus interim assessment block. There typically aren't very many performance tasks, but the difference is that this needs to be graded by the teacher, and so does this. Most of these do not need to be graded. The system grades it automatically, and you can get those grades in the California assessment reporting or recording system. And let's go look at that. It's the California Educator Reporting System. So something for you to practice. I highly recommend it. Go ahead, play around with the Smarter Content Explorer. The other thing that you probably will want to do is you can select support. What's nice about support, it gives you some key terms that you should know. It'll give you the blueprint for the assessment. It'll give you, when you select this, it tells you what that blueprint is, for example. Other key terms, what a target is, it tells you right there. The target describes at a more granular level than claim. The expectations of the knowledge, skills, and or abilities assessed by the item and tasks within each claim. And then it'll even tell you the standard refers to the academic content standards adopted by the state territories for the U.S. in K-12 public education. So specifically what we want students to know by the end of the school year. And you can play around with the test development and see what it says there. And you can also select Explore, and that's where we were at the very beginning. I like selecting Explore because it gets me right where I need to be right away. And I thank you for listening to me. Make sure that if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe. Come back soon so we can talk more about the state assessment for the California Assessment for Student Performance and Progress.